In 2004, the FBI reported an extreme crime zone in Santa Fe National Forest in New Mexico. In the report, an abysmal mafia gang was mentioned for their drug smuggling activities of fentanyl. The gang name was Kingfisher. A written order came from the high officials of the security department. According to the order, a special unit of 14 soldiers was formed for executing the death warrants of all the members of the gang and the capture of the gang leader named Heisen. A lieutenant named Rick Murphy was assigned to lead this operation. This operation was not a big threat, but before going on any operation, Rick has a habit of having a family conversation with his wife and their 2 children, not regarding the fact of how high or low the threat can be in his military operations. So he called on his family's landline. His 4-year-old daughter named Melina picked up the call. Melina said, "Hello." Rick said, "Hi honey, how are you?" Melina said, "Oh, it's you, Dad. I'm not doing okay." Rick said, "Why not, honey? Did something happen?" Melina said, "Yes, actually, I wanted to buy a new kitchen set for my dollhouse, but Mom didn't buy it for me, saying that it's expensive." Rick chuckled and said, "Don't worry, honey, I'll bring it when I get back home. Now put your mom on the phone." Melina cheerfully said, "Thanks, Dad." Then she gave the phone to her mom. Now Rick's wife said, "Hi darling, how's your work going?" Rick said, "Heading towards an operation in New Mexico. That's why I just wanted to talk to you. Pray for my safe return." Rick's wife said, "You don't talk that way before going on a mission. What is it? Don't tell me it's a life-threatening mission." Rick said, "Calm down, it's not. I'm just teasing. It's so much fun to annoy you." Rick's wife said, "Come on honey, whatever. Please be careful out there. By the way, when will you come back?" Rick said, "Tomorrow morning maybe." Rick's wife said, "No, not maybe. Tell me exactly when." Rick said, "Tomorrow morning, confirmed." "Where is our boy Mike?" "Give him the phone." Rick's wife said, "He's not home. Maybe playing in the neighborhood." Rick said, "Okay, no problem. Tell him I love him." Rick's wife said, "Okay, good luck honey. And I hope you didn't forget the legendary line." Rick said, "Yeah, I know. That is still in my head." Rick's wife said, "All right, but also as the greatest wife you can ever find, I'll tell you again that always remember you have a family who are immensely waiting for you to get back home safely." Then Rick ended the conversation. As soon as he finished it, he got a call to get ready for the operation. The plan of executing this operation was given into his hands. Later, he explained it to his squad members. The entire squad, including him, required all the gears they needed and all the tactical gadgets and various firearms for completing the operation successfully. But there was something in that planning of the operation that made Rick a bit confused, because in the planning details they mentioned that this operation is planned by putting emphasis on the tactical skills and avoiding chemical reactions. But both the environment and the hideout of the mafia gang are not well examined during the process of making the plan for this operation. But thinking of the operation as a weak one, Rick stopped caring about the confusion he had. Then he hopped on the truck with his fellow squad members and started their journey towards the AO, or the area of operation. In the pitch dark midnight, they entered deep into the forest. After covering a certain distance on the truck, they started their journey on foot, so that the mafia members would be unable to feel their presence in the jungle, and also they could easily complete the stealth segment of the operation. After a while of walking, they find the hideout of the mafia, where they discover 4 large cottages built in a zigzag position inside a parallelogram area. That area was highly dense with huge trees, so that nothing from the sky could actually identify those 4 cottages. This is the reason why the mafia was able to operate their dirty works behind the eyes of normal people. As usual, they started their operation according to their plan. After a successful stealth attack of 7 minutes, the mafia members acknowledged the presence of the military around their hideout and immediately took their battlefield stance inside their cottages. The military started their invasion after receiving the order of open fire by the Lieutenant Rick Murphy. They took control of the first cottage without taking almost no damage. But now there was a problem. Even though the other soldiers didn't notice the problem, Rick's higher masculine virtue of competence and proficiency made him realize that there was a big problem in the plan of this operation as he expected before. As soon as Rick thought of doing something about the problem, they got totally obliterated by a surprise attack of the mafia gang members who attacked from every side of that cottage. Basically, this cottage was intentionally made and installed as a trap for the military to fall into, and the mafia was successful in doing that. In a moment of 2.5 minutes, the military lost 5 members of their team. The situation got out of control in a short moment, but Rick somehow found a suitable place to guard him from the bullet shots of the mafia members. Then Rick started to modify the operation plan that he was given. Then he used his knowledge and skill to dominate the advantage the mafia gang took by trapping the military inside the cottage. Rick started to observe various corners and blank spaces of that cottage. Then he called out his soldiers and showed them some hand signs. According to those hand signs, the military took their position and started fighting with the mafia. In a short amount, the mafia gang members started to move behind since they lost a good amount of their folks. Then Rick ordered the soldiers to move in a new formation towards the mafia gang members. It worked as well. In just 7 minutes, the military got out of the first cottage. Now Rick sent back one of their soldiers to the truck they left behind in the jungle so that the military headquarters could get informed by a call that they needed backup in the battlefield. Rick also ordered the soldier not to get back in the fighting without the backup team, since getting into the battlefield alone could kill him. Now, along with the given plan, Rick made some new strategies of his own to take control of the second and third cottage, and it worked very well. Then the only cottage which was left was the fourth one. Rick ordered his soldiers to follow the same plan and attack the fourth cottage. While making the invasion inside the fourth cottage, the military found the mafia leader Heisen inside. The military killed all the mafia gang members and then tried to capture Heisen alive. As soon as they reached Heisen, some sort of special switch was turned on by Heisen. Even though in a matter of seconds Rick captured Heisen successfully, he also understood that Heisen had started the self-destructive bomb that was planted under the fourth cottage, since the fourth cottage holds various important information about the mafia gang. Before the military could get out of that cottage, the bomb activated itself and completely crushed the entire cottage into a pile of rubble and dust. Rick also got caught under the pile. He saw on the right side that Heisen's body was completely crushed and a huge amount of blood was spreading around. Now Rick started to think of getting out of here. The first problem he noticed was that his left hand was completely stuck under a huge boulder. The second problem was the supply of oxygen was getting poorer at a great speed. He tried a lot to free his left hand, but he couldn't. Also, for the lack of oxygen, he was feeling really bad. His eyes were slowly losing their strength of sight. The body was refusing to put any effort into saving itself. The only light that was still alive in his heart made him think, "Oh God, I cannot die yet. I just cannot die right now. I have to go back. I have to buy a new kitchen set for my daughter's dollhouse. I was not even able to talk to my boy today. Besides, I promised my wife to get back home tomorrow morning alive." While he was thinking this, his eyes went to the medium-sized knife he had. Rick felt like those eyes were stuck on that knife. He tried to move his eyes from that but failed. The reason is his brain is not working as it should. The only thing rolling inside his mentality was finding any possible way to get out of that situation. Maybe or maybe not finding any other way, he took the knife and placed it on the border between the part of his hand that was under the rubble and the part of his hand that was still moving freely. Then he started bruising and hurting his left hand. The scene was horrifying. Rick cut all of the muscles, veins, and even the joint of the bones with that knife. After 1.5 hours of self-torturing, he finally was able to completely separate the part of his left hand from his body that was stuck in the darkness and got out from the pile. But huge blood loss and a less supply of oxygen for a long time made him senseless. After that, when he opened his eyes, he saw he was lying down in the military hospital, where his wife was holding his right hand. Actually, the backup military team that Rick asked for actually found Rick in the place where he got senseless. All the other soldiers were found dead under the pile of boulders. Rick's wife started sobbing seeing her husband alive. Instead of memorizing about the monstrous sight Rick achieved under that pile of rubble and dust at his death door, he started to reflect on something positive. He started to think that since he was alive, he had to buy the new kitchen set for his daughter, and he had to play soccer with his son in the neighborhood, and he had to make more beautiful and meaningful memories with his lovely wife.